We will start our session today by land acknowledgements. As a national organization, we acknowledge and are grateful for this land on which we work, play, and create, that is still home to Indigenous people across the Turtle Island. STEPS is committed to cultivating safe spaces for Indigenous voices to be heard, and we encourage you to learn more about the land where you reside. STEPS is located in Toronto, Ontario. We would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge that we are located on ancestral Wendat territory and the shared territory of the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee, covered by the Deschwet-Douan Spoon Treaty and later Treaty 13, signed with the Mississauga of the Credits, and the William Treaty, signed with multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands. We encourage you to post in the chat what are you zooming from, and you can use nativeland.ca to help you identify whose traditional land you are residing on. Next slide, please. So welcome from STEPS. My name is Ishraq Bouzidi. I'm the Cultural Planning Manager. I'm joined here today by my colleague Erin Glover, the Associate Program Director, my colleague Grace Lee, the Engagement Manager, Madison Kennedy, the Placemaking Coordinator, Kruti, the Engagement Associate, Eva Morrison, the Engagement Assistant, Julian, the Public Arts Assistant, and Krupa, the Public Arts Assistant. We'll move forward to the agenda. Today, we will start by introducing STEPS and how STEPS help everyone get better understanding of what we do. Then we will move into an overview of the HeART Main Street program, which specifically supports BIAs in Main Street recovery. We will have a breakout room session that will help equip folks for the application process and help to brainstorm ideas. Then we will go over the details of the application process and next steps. And we will end with a question period. If you have any questions that come up, please include them in the chat, and we will make sure that they are all responded to during at the end of the session. I'll pass it to my colleague Erin to jump on.
Hi, everyone. We just want to share a little bit about STEPS. You know who we are as an organization. So STEPS develops one-of-a-kind public art plans, installations, and engagement strategies that foster vibrant communities. We are a national public arts organization based in Toronto, and our mandate is to foster these exciting initiatives through community engagement and collaboration. We can support BIAs with the following. So to date, we have partnered with over 50 BIAs and municipalities across Ontario. Some of the ways STEPS has worked with BIAs in the past include helping BIAs to identify local placemaking assets and opportunities. We also help identify ways BIAs could include more public art along the main streets. This could include things like street furniture, murals, or hoarding exhibits. So hoarding is the construction panels, the panels that surround active construction sites, for those of you who are not familiar. Activating storefronts, parkettes, working with the BIAs in long-term projects, public art master planning, and we love to support BIAs in documenting their successes, telling stories, and sharing the impact on the community.
Now that you know a bit more about STEPS, we'd love to hear a bit more about all of you who are zooming in today. So if you haven't done so already, it'd be amazing if you can change your name to include your pronouns, as well as the BIA that you are representing during this call. And feel free to type in the chat, let us know a little bit about your BIA, where in Canada you're zooming in from. We have a poll here, thank you, Grace. So you can participate in the poll that will give us a bit of an insight as to who we have joining us on the call. Alberta, that's amazing. Some folks in the GTA, more Northern Canada, Nova Scotia. In the past, HeART Main Street has been an Ontario-based program, so we're really excited to be able to offer this program across Canada now, and we're really eager to work with BIAs from BC all the way to Nova Scotia. Oh, amazing, thank you. So many nice things coming up in the chat. Prince Edward County, amazing. London, Ontario, Cornwall. Great, thank you so much for joining us. The HeART Main Street Challenge is presented in partnership with RBC Royal Bank of Canada and is made possible with support by funding provided by the Government of Ontario, Canada Healthy Communities Initiative, which is funded by the Government of Canada, Canada City Council of the Arts, the City of Toronto, and Ontario Arts Council. We all know that the pandemic has made a big impact on our main streets as well as the arts community. STEPS has a history of supporting both BIAs and artists. So when the pandemic hit, we asked our networks what challenges they were facing, and this is what we heard from them. We heard that there was decreased foot traffic from main streets, vacant or underutilized retail space. There was a changing use of public space, a stretched resources within BIAs, increased vandalism. From artists, we heard that there was a loss of income, canceled gigs, lack of exhibit space, and a lot of isolation. We saw that there was a natural opportunity for businesses and the arts community to work together, to collaborate and implement creative strategies and solutions to combat some of these challenges that we're facing and encourage people to come back to the main streets and celebrate art and community. Public art plays a key role in placemaking for community recovery. It allows for folks to foster a sense of community and feel safe in the space that they are in. It allowed for cultural tourism, especially during the pandemic when a lot of typical tourist areas were shut down or you couldn't go inside to tourist attractions. It really allowed people to explore outside public spaces, whether that is in a more tourist sense or self-guided. It allowed businesses to strengthen the connection with the community. And of course, it beautifies the areas in the community. In response to these challenges and the value of public art, we helped a number of BIAs across Ontario with creative placemaking projects that helped bring people back to their main streets. This is a scissor reel from this past summer's round of projects. So it will highlight the projects, give you insight to HeART Main Street, and hopefully help you brainstorm some ideas. Pass it on to Julian now, who's going to talk a little bit more about some of the projects that we worked on.
Hi, everyone. So as you can see, in the past, we have worked on a number of BIAs and artists to create a variety of different types of activations, both big and small, such as street murals, furniture, ground decals, and storefront window exhibitions, or exhibits, excuse me. While other BIAs worked with audio animation, pole murals, photography displays, and paper installation. While other BIAs worked with cafetiere parquets and exhibits, creative picnic table covers, wayfinding signage, and fence installations. So here are a few artist testimonials. They're really, really awesome to read and hear how great the program helped. And I'd love to share a video now of an artist testimony.
Been able to go to any indoor entertainments, and so here we have a city covered with public art, which is, you know, a free gallery. We couldn't go to the AGO, but now we can at least, you know, or through the pandemic, we've been able to see some beautiful art everywhere we walk. I would love to see more young people wanting to be artists, and so I think this would be a great way for them to see art that they might not be prone to go to a gallery. So
I hope that the window art will help bring attention to the businesses. My hope is that someone will walk by on the street, see the work in the windows, and just bring something special and unique to their day. I think it's a really great way to bring human elements to spaces and something fun during the pandemic. Someone had to come up with the ideas for the designs, collaborate with people to make it happen. So it's really combining people together to bring something nice to the community. It's particularly special to me since I live not too far away. So I've been to a lot of these shops and restaurants before. So it's really great to be able to bring my art to my community.
We're taking old spaces and making them new again. It brings more people downtown. It allows for people to have something as almost like a landmark to go to. And when they go to it, they'll also be able to go to the store surrounding and be able to help with the economy by spending the money there and shopping locally. So it really does help. I'd like to be able to see young people start painting more. Burlington has kind of been sheltered in terms of the street art scene. Being a young person in Burlington, I never was able to see any big murals, and I'm honored today to be able to work on one so large and so impactful to the community.
From my perspective as an artist, for when it comes to economic recovery, is that there is hope. If I could change someone's day by making them stop and look at art, think about themselves and what they see in their day, then I'm almost like a visual therapist. And I think when we create more public art where people get to investigate, talk about the history, talk about who they are themselves, I think we can create a world that's a little bit more mindful and more genuine when it comes to being themselves. We're all art.
It's always nice to hear what the artists have to say and how it's impacted the community. But through HeART Main Street, STEPS will provide artist recruitment and engagement support, activation coaching related to logistics or community engagement strategies. We will supply an artist fee subsidy, which is a max of $1,000, which will be split between 2 artists, and that would be per BIA. STEPS does really promote equitable artist fees, so I do want to just make a note that this subsidy of $1,000 might not cover the entire artist fee. So when applying for this program or when budgeting for these placemaking or public art projects, make sure that you keep that in mind. CARFAC is a great resource that outlines the artist fees or outlines a guide of the artist fees that we should follow. STEPS provides visual documentation, as you see some amazing videos and photographs for the BIAs to use to promote their area and their projects. STEPS will also promote through our own networks, through social media posts, media releases, our newsletters, on our website and STEPS Public Art app. BIAs that participate will also be eligible for a prize, which will be announced at the end of the round. In this case, it'll be announced in October. The prize will give you support to create more placemaking and public art initiatives and projects in your area. The categories are community engaged, transformational, and innovative. I'll pass on to Grace now to speak a little bit more about our app.
Thank you, Madison. Hi, everyone. So on top of all the different supports being offered mentioned in the previous slide, BIAs and artists and projects will also be featured on the new STEPS Public Art app that actually launched in conjunction with last year's summer HeART Main Street program. Since then, we've had nearly 10,000 views since the launch and lots of interactions with the app, not only through virtual project visits with the app, but also walking tours as well. The app also acts as a map so the public can locate your activations, find projects near them, and plan local visits or even just experience it totally virtually as well. We'll drop the web app and app store links in the chat so you can check them out. The web app doesn't require any downloading, and so you can check out some of the projects that your colleagues have been up to since last summer and see some of the artists who have taken part in the program, as well as other STEPS projects that are happening across the country. We can go on to the next slide. Alongside the STEPS app, we'll also leverage our digital channels to promote projects not only across Ontario, but Canada through the STEPS website, social media, and lots of visual storytelling through photos and videos to reach visitors from near and far. And so this includes our over 18,000 followers across social media and newsletter channels. And that's on top of your own followers, the followers of the BIAs, and also all the artists involved as well. So we're super excited to hopefully work together and cross promote your projects together all summer long. We will also plan for paid sponsored ad campaigns to reach communities outside and beyond our current networks, with some of our ads reaching tens of thousands of social media impressions to raise more awareness and excitement over your community projects. And so we'd love for you to follow STEPS on social, and we'll add the links to the chat as well, and for you to check out some more HeART Main Street projects through the hashtag Main Street Art Challenge. There you'll see some of the projects that we've worked on since the start of the program at the beginning of the pandemic. And now I think we're going to launch another poll because we want to hear from you and your BIAs and your favorite digital platforms that you leverage. So I'm going to launch the second poll. Feel free to share in the chat as well if there are other social media platforms and digital platforms that your BIA likes to utilize. I know STEPS hasn't jumped on the TikTok train yet. And yeah, we'd also be interested in knowing how often do you post as well. Feel free to elaborate in the comments. We're also interested in knowing if your BIA has dedicated staff members who manage your social media accounts. Is there someone who creates the photo and video content? Is any of the content live, like an Instagram live? You can also share how often or how active your social media engagement is as well. I'm going to close the poll soon. It looks like most BIAs are really active on Instagram and Facebook. Yeah, STEPS is the same. We love Instagram, we love Facebook, and we do find that a lot of engagement with BIAs and through Main Street Art Challenge or HeART Main Street program through those platforms as well. And so I guess I will pass it off to Krupa.
Right, hi everyone. The purpose of HeART Main Street is to design solutions that are geared towards your BIA's challenges as well as the surrounding community's needs and assets. This is done by finding ways to use public art and creative placemaking to develop a solution that ensures our main streets remain the vibrant places we know and love. Right, here are some activation ideas that could be done during the summer months. Right, and here are a few more ideas, and the options are endless. You just need to be creative, like street furniture, pole murals, ground murals, and any ideas, creative ideas from the BIAs are also welcome to discuss.
Thanks, Krupa. We would love to hear from you now. Has your BIA engaged in any summer activations before? If not, please let us know if you have any ideas coming up, or if you want to elaborate on any of these, please feel free to chat or make a comment in the chat. Amazing. Murals, painted furniture, both great options. Storefront paintings, really great as well. You can also talk about any activations you wish to see in your community, or it can really be any crazy ideas. Nothing is too big. I'll give a few more minutes for anyone else to participate in the poll. It seems like murals are one of the most popular, which is great. They do make a big impact. If you haven't done anything yet, but there's always time and options to start. Okay, I'll end the poll now because we will have time to talk about this more in our breakout rooms. But it does seem like murals are the most popular, followed by storefront paintings, painted furniture, and then the BIAs who haven't done it yet. They will be coming soon. Apply for HeART Main Street and we can change that. So now we're going to take some time to meet together in smaller groups, and these groups will be organized randomly. So you'll be in groups with BIAs from across Canada. You'll be with folks that are both from urban and rural BIAs. So it'll be a great opportunity to come together to chat and discuss different challenges and assets and creative solutions that could take place in your BIA. Each group will be led by a few staff members. So the first one will be led by Ishrak and Eva, the second by myself and Krupa, and the third by Grace and Julian. So just hold on tight when we get organized into our breakout rooms. I'll be looking forward to chatting with all of you soon and coming up with some ideas for HeART Main Street. Thank you. I hope everyone's back now. So we will go through each group and we'll have each of the facilitators discuss a few things that was chatted about during the breakout sessions. But before we do that, we'll just look at a few of the challenges and assets that we have received when talking with different artists and BIAs. So some of the challenges were, like a lot of us mentioned, decreased foot traffic. There's been a struggle for staff with a lot of things to juggle and maybe limited resources. It's hard to plan and budget with constant change. And the historic area restrictions on land use can be a bit of a challenge. Some assets could be parking lots, digital main streets, different grants that came out of COVID, amazing volunteers, board members, and of course, lots of local artists in the area is always a great thing. So we'll start with group one now. If Ishrak, you'd like to share a few things that were discussed in your breakout room.
Sure, I will start with the challenges that has been brought to face. A lot of construction zones that's were and are still even post-COVID. Costs, challenges related to cost to animate and activate public realm, moving from temporary pilot projects on how to build permanent infrastructure, difficulty working with departments during COVID, from contractors to municipalities, all challenges related to coordinations as well, an increase in cost for projects in general, and like the weather challenges and weather condition, climate change in general. As for the assets, we spoke about parks in the area for public activations, spaces that are similar to pedestrian mall or open street style. And so these, some of the assets that the BIA highlighted. We haven't had time to do the third activity, but that was it from our activity, I feel.
Thank you, Ishraq, for sharing. I'll share a little bit about group 2 and what we discussed. So some of the challenges were vacant buildings, limited foot traffic, people sort of hesitant to come back to the main streets after COVID, raising rent, very expensive to be renting and having a business in these main streets. A lot of the BIAs in our group had a lot of historic buildings in their area, so that poses its own challenges when it comes to public art. It's a little bit more strict in terms of having artwork displayed on these buildings and making sure they're preserved well. Some of the assets we talked about were beautiful waterfront areas that would be great for activations, lots of ground space that could be used for different ground murals, projection art, or decals. Lots of wall space that are just waiting and ready to have beautiful murals on. And overall, everyone in the group had a lot of amazing project ideas. So I think they're all set for HeART Main Street and public art activations in their area. That's definitely a great asset to have. I'll pass it on to Grace for group 3 to discuss what they talked about.
Thanks, Madison. So for some of the challenges that were identified included limited staff capacity, irregular business hours and folks not sticking around, loss of foot traffic, limited resources, and also some vacant storefronts. Moving on to some of the resources and assets that were identified included empty spaces and blank spaces. So essentially a lot of, blank canvases that can be revitalized through public art. One BIA had mentioned, tons of schools, businesses, community groups who are really interested in getting involved, and also having strong relationships with municipalities as well, who can do things like donate furniture that can be revitalized. And we had like a minute at the end to do some brainstorming. So more parquets, more murals. We also talked about some of the ongoing projects that the BIAs are already working on, including very unique murals using tiles, creating an outdoor gallery or an artist alley. But yeah, everyone is really interested in brainstorming some more and figuring out like new ideas for the summer.
Thanks for sharing, Grace. It sounds like everyone had an amazing conversation, so thank you for participating. Now we're going to hear from Nadia Richard, who is from the Clarkson Village BIA located in Mississauga within Ontario. They actually won the HeART Main Street Innovative Award in 2021 for their pollinator boxes and street furniture. With that award, they were able to complete a number of pole murals that are located across their main street. So I'd love to introduce you to Nadia, who's going to speak a little bit about her experience with HeART Main Street.
Thanks very much, Madison. So as Madison mentioned, we're Clarkson Village BIA, and we're located in South Mississauga, Ontario. And last summer, we participated in the HeART Main Street program with STEPS, and we had an absolutely wonderful experience. It's an experience I highly recommend to any BIA. So when I first applied to be part of this program last spring, I was just a few months into my BIA role, which is a brand new world for me personally. And I and our board collectively had zero experience in public art or placemaking. So it was a really good partnership. We were thrilled when we were chosen to participate in the program and have STEPS really kind of hold our hand and guide us through our projects. So we received a ton of great support from STEPS from start to finish. So we started off with tons of great ideas, and they really helped us narrow down and focus what would give us kind of the most bang for our buck and what to focus on and move forward with. We had a ton of help selecting artists who ended up being a fantastic fit with our BIA. We received help developing themes for our artwork and color schemes, and I even had calls with STEP staff who went into great levels of detail on what kind of things I needed to buy and from where to get started with the projects. So overall, I'd say there was a ton of great communication, open communication, and lots of assistance wherever we needed it. We had lots of great ideas, and I think if we hadn't partnered with STEP, they would still be at the idea stage. With STEPS, they would still be at the idea stage right now because we were just having trouble getting going and initiating the process, and it was fantastic support with that. So as Madison had mentioned, the results of these first ever BIA public art projects are 4 stunning benches. So you can see one of them there. We did 4 benches, one for each season, representing activities that go on in our community. And we also did 2 pollinator boxes where residents planted pollinator gardens, and we had an artist decorate the outside of the boxes. And both of these projects are continuing to add color and interest to our streetscape today. And we receive so many positive comments on them and people posting on social media when they're sitting on the benches, for example. And we ended up winning the Innovative Award from STEPS. And as a result, we just wrapped up another public art project using our winnings with using murals on our banner posts, which is also getting a lot of attention and which we're incorporating into an event in 2 weeks' time. So overall, we had a really great experience. We now have tons of other ideas for public art, and we now have an idea of how to get started at least, and we're less intimidated by the whole process. And overall, working on these projects, I would say last summer, really nicely brought together our BIA board in a positive way. They were really positive projects to work on. They were outside. They were safely done for the time, considering all the restrictions last summer. And they've really helped give our BIA some nice profile through the sharing that STEPS has done with their, brought in their photographers, sharing it through their social media channels. We've gotten some nice profile for our business area. And I believe it's given the public more reasons to come by and check out our BIA, see what we're all about, and hopefully visit some of the local businesses while they're here.
Thank you so much, Nadia. Definitely encourage people to go check it out if you're in Ontario or close by. Otherwise, check it out on the Public Art app. Now we'll look at the application process and talk a little bit about the next steps for all of you. So this slide will outline the program timeline. Today will be our info session, the kickoff of the program. The applications are open today and they'll be closing on June 28th. So I definitely encourage you all to apply early just in case any questions come up, any concerns, or you want any support from us with the application. I believe we'll be closing June 29th at noon. And then from June 29th until July 1st, it will be our time to review and then start sending out acceptance letters. Sorry, July 1st. The beginning of July, we'll start with our coaching calls and artist matching for BIAs that have projects that are taking place earlier in this round. And then we'll do the same in August for projects that will be taking place later in the summer and into the fall. So projects can really start being developed, produced, documented, and installed as early as July and then going into September. So it really depends on the scope of work that you'll be applying for. Some projects like the ground decals displayed on this slide are pretty quick turnaround projects and can get done in a very timely manner, where other projects such as sculptures and murals might take a little bit more time to plan. So definitely be mindful of that when you're applying. All of our projects will have to be wrapped up by the end of September. That will be our final deadline. So definitely keep that in mind as well when you're applying. It's a bit more difficult to do outdoor public art placements into the later fall just because the weather can be a bit iffy and it's a bit cold. So especially if you're doing any murals or outdoor painting, keep that in mind. And then in October, we will be selecting our winners, the winning BIAs that participated. We have a selection committee of different artists and stakeholders from different communities that will be helping us decide on the winning BIAs. That award will be announced in late October, and then the BIAs will be able to have time to think about their next activations they want to complete. In terms of the application itself, it is quite straightforward. We have it linked on our website. So if you go to stepspublicart.com, you'll be able to find it there. It is just a Google form. So you can go on, fill it out quite easily. If you have any questions, you can send me an email about it. I believe we'll be linking it in the chat as well, and we can send a follow-up email that will link you straight to the form. On the application form, you'll be asked to provide some of the following details. You'll be asked to describe some of the challenges facing your BIA currently. So the breakout room helped with that, helped generate some ideas. We'll be asking for some Main Street activation ideas. So if you have any, it'd be great to list them. You don't have to be set on just one. You can list all of the ideas you have in the application and maybe mention some of the ones that you're leaning towards more. But during our initial calls, we can help you solidify and select which idea you want to move forward with. We would love to hear some artists that you're interested in working with, whether that is local artists to your area or artists mentioned on our roster. And we would love to hear if you've confirmed any resources for this activation, if you have a confirmed budget from your board, if you have any grants that you've applied for or grants that you've been accepted into, or anything else in your neighborhood. Maybe you have an art supply store that you have a good relationship with that might be able to help supply or donate any art projects or art supplies, or any volunteers or such you might have in your area. It'd be great to hear about that. A little bit about the artists now. So we do have over 150 Ontario-based artists, and our artist roster is growing. We do have a list of artists outside of Ontario as well. We do like to really promote BIAs working with local artists. So please mention that in your application if you have any in mind. We also welcome you to take a look at our artist roster, select a few that you're interested in working with. I do want to let you all know that the summertime is quite a busy time for artists, as there's lots of public art projects going on. So definitely select at least 3 that you're interested in working with, as the timelines might not align with these projects. With the artist fee subsidy, we really want to give the opportunity to BIPOC artists and other artists who might be part of minority groups. STEPS is really committed to amplifying underrepresented voices in public spaces. So keep that in mind as well. We really want to give the opportunity to these artists. And like mentioned earlier, it is really important to pay artists equitably. So like we said, the $1,000 doesn't really go too far in terms of artist fees. We follow the CARFAC guidelines when creating an artist fee and suggesting the artist fee. So please be mindful of that, and please be mindful that depending on the scope of work, depending on how many hours the artist will need to put into this project, the artist fee can vary. That being said, we do want to work within the budget that you apply with. So we can always alter the scope of work to fit within that budget and create a plan that's comfortable for the artist, where they're still being paid fairly, but you're still able to create a public art piece and beautify your area within the budget that you apply with. The next steps for you would be to submit your application online. Applications will be reviewed after June 28th. If you seem like a likely candidate for you for the program, we might send you an email prior just to get a better sense of your project or ask any questions that might seem unclear within the application. And then once you've been selected, we'll have an initial kickoff meeting where we just dive in depth about the project and think about the next steps. The immediate next steps, we would love it if you complete our evaluation survey. This program is always evolving and growing, and we really want to make sure we're able to cater it towards you, the BIAs, and make sure it's straightforward and easy for you. So we'd appreciate any feedback that you have. Please keep brainstorming ideas, assets, challenges that are in your BIA that could be helped with public art and placemaking projects. Feel free to explore our website, review the program guidelines, check out our app, check out past projects, look at some more scissor reels to get some more ideas. And then finally, please complete the application and apply for the program. We'll open the floor to all of you if you have any questions about the program. We have some listed here that are just very common questions that we've been asked. The first one we kind of covered. Will steps artist fee cover all payments? No. $1,000 doesn't always stretch that far depending on the scope of work that you'll be working within. Can I apply for activations to be completed in November? For this round, the activations need to be completed by the end of September. So no, we are hoping to have multiple rounds. So hopefully there will be another winter round, and in that case, hold your winter and fall ideas for then. But if you have summer ideas and fall ideas, please apply for this round. We'd love to work with you. Then finally, what if I already have an artist we want to engage with? That's great, totally fine. We love to work with all new artists. And if you've already been in talk with them, that's fine as well. We can pull them into the program. So don't worry about that. Please bring any new artists to the table. You can either unmute yourself to ask a question or also feel free to type it in the chat.
Hi, this is Amber from the Streetsville BIA in Mississauga. We have a new opportunity to put banners at an entry point that we haven't activated yet, but we've already started with our artist. She is a local Mississauga artist, and she hand paints and then digitalizes and turns it into a banner. And so we have funding, in a sense. We have some community sponsorship. Can we use this project with steps, or does it have to be something completely new? She's just in the painting phase now.
I would say you can apply still.
Okay.
It definitely depends too if you want extra support on this project, or if you have any other project ideas that might be also helpful to start from beginning to end with HeART Main Street, just with the project coordination and management support. But
okay, so maybe we could add it into our list and then
add it into your list. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I have a question about photographers. So STEPS does provide professional photographs and videos of the artwork. And depending on where you're located, we'll either send one of our in-house photographers or we will find one in your area. So if you do want to use your own photographer, we can discuss that depending on where you're based. But if you're based in an area where STEPS has an in-house photographer, then we typically would use them. We have a question in the chat. Do you only promote public art projects that are funded with STEPS, or would you promote others? If you tag us in social media posts of public art you've done, then we can repost it and promote it within your community. But we do a majority of our major pushes with public art projects that are associated with steps. I'm not sure, Grace, if you want to add on that and give a little bit of insight to the promotion side.
Yeah, thanks, Madison. Yeah, we're always happy to share public art projects happening across all communities, whether they're STEPS projects or outside of STEPS as well. We love finding external opportunities. So if you have like calls for artists that might be of interest to the STEPS artist roster or our networks, we're always happy to share it through our newsletter or resharing on social media as well. So yeah, feel free to share any opportunities our way.
We have a question about whether BIAs can partner with other BIAs in the neighborhood or in the area or other organizations. That's totally fine. We've had projects in the past where multiple BIAs have worked together that are side by side to create long projects that span within the two BIAs. We've also done projects where other organizations act as sponsors or stakeholders. So definitely apply still. You can apply with additional organizations. Are one-on-ones available to help with application and assist with budget requirements? For sure. If you have some ideas that you need some help with for the application, you can send me an email and I'd be happy to help you out with that. We definitely like to work with BIAs that have a wide range of budget. So definitely don't be worried about that. We try to make things work within the budget that your board has approved. We have a question about scissor reels. So the video that we saw earlier, it was asked if each BIA gets their own video. So we don't typically do a video that highlights each BIA specifically. We'll do, like you saw, clips of a number of BIAs that highlights the season or the round. But if it's something you're interested in, then we could work that within the budget of your project if you wanted a video for your BIA to promote the area or to really highlight the project. Well, it seems like there are no more questions at the moment. So thank you everyone for coming. We really appreciate you and your interest in this program. If any questions come up later on, once you have time to digest the info session a bit, please reach out. Please feel free to email us. We're always happy to chat and help you out with the application or help flesh out some ideas. But I hope you all enjoy the rest of your afternoon and thank you so much.